Hey everyone, welcome back. It's been a while since our last deep dive, and you guys have been busy. The U.S. economy, global chip manufacturing, the future of AI. You've been digging deep into some pretty complex stuff lately.
A lot to unpack, for sure.
Exactly. So let's try and synthesize what we've learned, kind of like putting together a puzzle. But instead of a pretty picture, we'll end up with a clearer understanding of what's happening in the world right now.
And a fascinating picture it is,
Mhm.
especially when you see how these seemingly different topics all connect. Like, did you know that the strength of the U.S. economy can directly impact how much companies invest in AI
Oh, yeah, totally.
and advancements in AI? Well, they could completely revolutionize industries that rely on semiconductors, which ties right back to that chip manufacturing article you flagged.
Whoa, it's all connected.
It really is.
Speaking of the U.S. economy, it's been giving us some confusing signals lately. That report from the Federal Reserve, the Beige Book, is making me think things might be slowing down.
Yeah, I see why you'd say that. 9 out of the 12 Federal Reserve districts are either stagnant or declining. That's a pretty big chunk of the country.
Right.
But here's the thing. Remember that article you shared about durable goods orders?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they actually went up in September.
Durable goods, like cars and washing machines and stuff. So people are still buying those big ticket items. Doesn't that mean the economy is actually doing okay?
Well, that's the puzzle, isn't it? You'd think strong consumer spending means a healthy economy. But if we look back at how durable goods orders have performed, historically, they've been pretty flat since the Fed started raising interest rates. Usually before a recession, we see those orders plummet, but that hasn't happened yet.
Hmm. That's a head scratcher. I'm starting to see why you compared this to a puzzle. So are we headed for a recession or not?
But there's another piece of the puzzle to consider. The split between the manufacturing and service sectors. Remember that report you pulled from the Institute for Supply Management?
Oh, yeah, the one about PMI, right? The Purchasing Managers Index.
Exactly. It basically tells us whether different sectors of the economy are growing or shrinking. And here's the kicker. Manufacturing, which usually leads economic cycles, has a PMI below 50,
Below 50.
meaning it's contracting. Meanwhile, the service sector is booming with a PMI over 55. Restaurants, healthcare, entertainment, they're all doing really well.
Wait, so manufacturing is down, but services are up. That doesn't make sense. Doesn't manufacturing usually predict what happens next in the economy?
Typically, yes.
Hmm.
But this time might be different. See, even though manufacturing is having a tough time, we haven't seen massive layoffs. That means people in manufacturing still have jobs, they're still getting paid, and they're still spending money in those thriving service sectors.
It's almost like we have two separate economies running at the same time. Manufacturers are struggling, but consumers are still spending, so the service sector is booming. Talk about mixed signals.
Exactly, and that's what makes this economic picture so perplexing. It's like we're missing a few key puzzle pieces to really understand what's going on.
Well, maybe we'll find those missing pieces as we explore some of these other topics. This discussion about manufacturing actually leads perfectly into our next topic, TSMC's new Arizona factory. They're already exceeding expectations for chip production, which could have major ripple effects.
Absolutely. It's not just about the number of chips they're producing, though. It's about the yield. Remember that in-depth article from the Wall Street Journal you sent over?
Yeah.
It highlighted how TSMC's Arizona plant is actually surpassing the production yields of their factories in Taiwan.
Really?
And that's significant
Because
because,
higher yields mean they're making more working chips, right?
right,
Which could lead to lower costs.
right,
So they could be even more competitive in the global market.
precisely.
Yeah.
And it gets even more interesting when you factor in the geopolitical implications. Having more chip manufacturing in the U.S. could make us less reliant on East Asia, especially considering all the tensions in that region. It's all about diversifying the supply chain.
Right, and that ties into that whole tech sovereignty concept I've been reading about, where countries basically want to have control over those key technologies like semiconductors. It's fascinating and a little unsettling how all these pieces kind of connect back to each other.
It is fascinating. But remember, there are always two sides to every coin. As impressive as TSMC's achievement is, they're facing some pretty big challenges too.
Mm.
Namely, the difference in labor costs. You highlighted this in your notes. The average salary at TSMC's Arizona plant is about $88,000 a year compared to roughly $31,000 for similar roles in Taiwan.
Wow, that's a huge difference. So how can TSMC make this work financially? Can those higher yields really offset those increased labor costs?
That's a great question, and one that TSMC is definitely grappling with. It's a delicate balancing act, But their success in Arizona could pave the way for similar advancements in other regions like Europe, which is also trying to attract chip makers.
I can definitely see that happening.
Mm,
Seems like everyone wants a piece of the semiconductor pie these days.
Absolutely. And the race to secure a dominant position in this industry is only going to heat up.
Hmm.
But before we get too caught up in the world of chips and geopolitics,
Yeah.
let's shift gears and dive into that final topic you were so excited about, OpenAI and their upcoming model, Orion.
Oh, yeah.
This one has the potential to be a real game changer for AI.
The rumors are pretty wild, and the fact that OpenAI will initially release it exclusively to partners like Microsoft, that just makes it even more intriguing.
Right. So let's break down why this is such a big deal. Orion is rumored to be significantly more powerful than GPT-4, exceeding its capabilities by up to 100 times. That article you shared from MIT Technology Review really dug into this, and what stood out to me was,
Hold on, 100 times more powerful. What does that even mean in practical terms? Does it write code faster, create stunning visual art, compose music? Help me understand what this could actually do.
I'm happy to elaborate. It appears Orion's advancements go beyond just speed. The reports suggest it can process and understand information in a way that's much closer to human cognition. For example, it appears Orion's advancements go beyond just speed. The reports suggest it can process and understand information in a way that's much closer to human cognition. For example, that leaked internal document you found mentioned Orion's ability to solve complex logic puzzles that even GPT-4 struggles with. It
Wow.
also seems to be capable of generating different creative text formats like poems, code scripts, musical pieces, email letters, etc., with a level of nuance and sophistication we haven't seen before.
Wow, that's incredible. It sounds like we're talking about a whole new level of AI. And you mentioned that OpenAI is only giving access to Orion to select partners like Microsoft. What could that mean for them?
Well, think about it this way. Imagine having this incredibly powerful AI model integrated into all of Microsoft's products and services.
Hmm.
Their cloud computing platform, Azure, could become the go-to destination for anyone wanting to leverage Orion's capabilities. It could give them a significant competitive edge.
It's almost like having a secret weapon in the tech world. And I bet other companies are watching this very closely, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially those involved in AI training like NVIDIA, which makes the chips that power these large language models. If Orion performs as well as expected, it could reignite investor interest in the entire AI sector.
It's like a chain reaction. TSMC's advancements in chip manufacturing could boost companies like NVIDIA, which in turn could benefit from the rise of even more powerful AI models like Orion.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together, and the implications go far beyond just the tech industry. Think about healthcare, for example. Orion could analyze medical images with greater accuracy, assist in drug discovery, even personalized treatment plans. In education, it could revolutionize personalized learning, provide real-time feedback, and even help develop entirely new teaching methodologies.
This is mind-blowing stuff. We're talking about potential paradigm shifts in so many different fields. But before we get too carried away with the future, let's take a quick pulse check on what's happening in the markets right now.
Good idea. The U.S. stock markets had a bit of a mixed day. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was down slightly, but the Nasdaq, which is heavily influenced by tech companies, managed a small gain. This suggests that investors are still optimistic about the growth potential of technology, even with the uncertainty surrounding the broader economy.
Interesting. So it seems like even though the overall economic picture is a bit hazy, there are still pockets of optimism, particularly in the tech sector.
Exactly. And speaking of optimism, the 10-year Treasury yield rose to 4.24%. This could be a sign that investors are anticipating changes in tax policies or that they expect the Federal Reserve to keep interest rates higher for longer. Either way, it suggests they're not overly concerned about an imminent recession.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about commodities? You know, I always keep an eye on oil prices. They tend to be pretty volatile.
Well, you're in for a bit of a surprise. Crude oil actually surged over 4% today, closing near $71.62 per barrel. It's a pretty significant jump, and it could be a sign of increasing global demand, despite the concerns about a potential economic slowdown. The dollar and gold, however, remained relatively stable.
So it seems like the markets are still trying to figure things out, much like we are. We've got this puzzle of conflicting economic indicators, a potential game changer in the chip industry with TSMC's Arizona factory, and a glimpse into the mind-blowing future of AI with OpenAI's Orion.
And all of these seemingly separate threads are actually interwoven, influencing each other in complex and fascinating ways.
It's like a giant tapestry, and we're only just beginning to see the full picture. But as you were saying earlier, there's always more to consider, right? What else should we be paying attention to as we try to make sense of all this?
That's a great point. There's one crucial aspect we haven't discussed yet, but it's closely connected to all three of these topics: technological sovereignty. Remember how we talked about countries wanting to control key technologies like semiconductors and AI?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is a prime example of that trend in action.
Ah, yes, that concept. It's like
It-
nations are realizing that having control over these technologies is not just about economic advantage, it's also about strategic power and independence.
exactly. It's the idea that countries don't want to be reliant on others for critical technologies that could impact their economic competitiveness, military capabilities, and even social and political stability.
I see. So TSMC's decision to build a factory in Arizona could be seen as a move towards greater technological sovereignty for the United States. And OpenAI's choice to give early access to Orion to Microsoft, a U.S. company, might also fit into this narrative.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating dynamic. Governments are investing billions of dollars to support domestic industries and attract leading tech companies. We're seeing this play out not just in the US, but also in Europe and China. It's becoming a global race for technological dominance.
So it's like countries are trying to build their own tech fortresses just in case things get a little dicey on the global stage. Kind of makes you wonder what the implications of all this will be, right?
It certainly does. And it adds another layer of complexity to this already intricate tapestry. Companies like TSMC are finding themselves caught in the middle of this geopolitical tug-of-war.
That's right. They have to balance their business interests with the strategic priorities of different governments. It's a delicate balancing act.
Indeed. And it's not just about chips. The same dynamics are at play with artificial intelligence. OpenAI's decision to partner with Microsoft is a clear example of this. It's all about positioning and strategic advantage in this rapidly evolving landscape.
Wow. It's incredible how much is happening beneath the surface. It's like a high-stakes game of chess, with each move having ripple effects across the globe.
You got it. And the stakes are only getting higher as these technologies become more powerful and more pervasive.
So, given all of this, what's the one thing you would say listeners should keep in mind as they navigate this complex landscape?
I would say this: pay attention to the interconnectedness of these trends. What happens in the U.S. economy can influence the development of AI in China. A breakthrough in chip manufacturing in Taiwan can have implications for national security in Europe.
It's all connected.
Yes, we can't afford to think in silos anymore. We need to develop a more holistic understanding of how these forces are shaping our world.
It's amazing how something like a chip shortage or a new AI model can have such far-reaching consequences. It really highlights how interconnected our world has become.
It does. And it underscores the importance of staying informed and understanding these trends. After all, these developments aren't just abstract concepts. They're shaping the world we live in, the jobs we do, the products we use, and the future we're building.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive today, I want to leave our listener with something to ponder. We've covered a lot of ground. A mixed economic outlook with some intriguing puzzles, a potential game changer in chip manufacturing, and a glimpse into the awe-inspiring future of AI.
It's been quite a journey. We've explored the challenges and opportunities presented by these advancements, and I think it's safe to say that we're living in a time of unprecedented technological and economic transformation.
That's for sure. And I think what's most fascinating is how all these seemingly disparate trends are converging, creating this complex and dynamic landscape. So given everything we've discussed, what would you say is the most important takeaway for our listener?
I'd say this: embrace curiosity. The world is changing at an accelerating pace, and the only way to navigate this complexity is to stay curious, keep learning, and be open to new possibilities.
I love that. Embrace curiosity. It's a reminder that even amidst all the uncertainty and change, there's also a sense of wonder and excitement about what the future holds.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe our deep dive today has sparked some new ideas or inspired our listener to explore these topics even further.
That's what we hope for. And to you, our listener, thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery. We've only scratched the surface of these fascinating topics, but we hope we've given you some food for thought and a deeper understanding of the forces shaping our world.
It's been a pleasure diving deep with you today.
And remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. Until next time.